leads MI6 agent James Bond, Daniel Craig, to carry out an unauthorized mission in Mexico City on the Day of the Dead, where he stops a terrorist bombing plot. Estrella Stephanie Sigman, a Mexican agent who accompanies Bond on his mission to assassinate Marco Sciarra. Bond kills Marco Sciarra, Alessandro Cremona, the terrorist leader, who makes a reference to the Pale King, and Bond overhears it, and takes his ring, which is emblazoned with a stylized octopus. Upon his return to London, Bond is suspended from field duty by Gareth Mallory, Ralph Fiennes, the current M, who is engaged in a power struggle with Max Denby, Andrew Scott, whom Bond dubs C, the Director General of the new privately backed joint intelligence service formed by the merger of MI5 and MI6. C campaigns for Britain to join the global surveillance and intelligence initiative Nine Eyes, and uses his influence to close down the 2,000-foot field agent section, which he believes is outdated. Secretly, C is an agent for Spectre, heavily involved with their plan to merge 9 national intelligence agencies into the Nine Eyes Committee, thus allowing Spectre the power to take over the world. Bond calls Moneypenny and shows her a video from the previous M, Judi Dench, sent to Bond after her death. In that, M asked Bond to track Marco if she were to die. She also asks Bond to attend his funeral. Bond asks Moneypenny to investigate Macro's history and associates. The previous M also left Bond a personal folder, which had the letter of guardianship for Bond to his foster father, and a photo in which the picture of the foster father's real son was burnt. Bond disobeys M's orders and travels to Rome to attend Sciarra's funeral, as that was also mandated by the previous M in her video message to Bond. He seduces Sciarra's widow, Lucia Monica Bellucci, who tells him Sciarra belonged to an organization of businessmen with criminal and terrorist connections. Bond first saves Lucia from the hitmen sent to kill her, and then he seduces her to extract information that the organization Marco worked for never met, but they called an emergency meeting in Rome to choose Marco's replacement. Bond uses Sciarra's ring to infiltrate a meeting to select Sciarra's replacement, where he identifies the leader, Franz Oberhauser, Ernst Stavro Blofeld, Christoph Waltz. After hearing Oberhauser give the order for the Pale King to be assassinated. When Oberhauser addresses Bond by name, Bond is pursued across the city in his Aston Martin DB10 by the organization's assassin, Mr. Hinks, Dave Bautista, driving a Jaguar CX-75. Eve Moneypenny, Naomi Harris, informs Bond that the Pale King is Mr. White, Jesper Christensen, a former member of the organization's subsidiary Quantum who had fallen afoul of Oberhauser. Bond asks her to investigate Oberhauser, who was presumed dead 20 years earlier. Meanwhile, C presents his vision of the Nine Eyes initiative to the security heads of 9 countries in Tokyo. Bond locates White in Altaussee, Austria, where he is dying of thallium poisoning. He admits to growing disenchanted with Quantum, and he tells Bond to find and protect his daughter, psychiatrist Dr. Madeleine Swan, Leah Seydoux, who will take him to l'Américaine in order to locate Oberhauser. White then commits suicide. Bond confronts Swan and rescues her from Hinks and his forces. The pair meet Q. Ben Whishaw, who links Oberhauser to Bond's previous missions, identifying Le Chiffre, Dominic Green and Raul Silva as agents of the same organization, which Swan identifies as Spectre. At the same time, news breaks of a massive terrorist strike in South Africa, which inevitably leads to an emergency meeting of the security heads of state, called by C, which leads to Nine Eyes program being sanctioned unanimously. C also closes down the OO program with immediate effect. This pisses M off. Swan takes Bond to l'Américaine, a hotel in Tangier, and they discover that White left evidence directing them to Oberhauser's base at a crater in the Sahara. They find a hidden chamber in Mr. White's usual room, which had the coordinates for the base. Taking a train to a remote station, Bond and Swan encounter Hinks, who gets ejected from the train in the ensuing fight. Bond and Swan fight together in tandem, and Swan even shoots Hinks in the shoulder. And later they are escorted to Oberhauser's base. After they get down at the nearest train station, a car comes to pick them up. Oberhauser reveals that Spectre has funded the Joint Intelligence Service while staging terrorist attacks around the world, creating a need for the Nine Eyes program. In return, C will give Spectre unlimited access to intelligence gathered by Nine Eyes, allowing them to anticipate and counteract investigations into their operations. Bond is tortured as Oberhauser discusses their shared history. After Bond was orphaned, Oberhauser's father, Hannes, became his temporary guardian. Bond and Swan stun Blofeld by setting off an explosive wristwatch in his face, and the two escape to London to prevent Nine Eyes from going online. In London, Bond and Swan meet M.Q. Bill Tanner, Rory Kinnear, and Moneypenny, with the intention of arresting Seach, Swan and Bond, are separately abducted by Spectre operatives, while the rest of the group proceed with the plan. After Q succeeds in preventing Nine Eyes from going online, a struggle between M and C ends with C falling to his death. Bond is taken to the ruins of the old MI6 building, scheduled for demolition after Silva's bombing. Blofeld, still alive, but now scarred over his right eye, tells Bond that he must escape before explosives are detonated in 3 minutes' time, or die trying to save Swan. Bond finds Swan and they escape by boat as the building collapses. Bond shoots down Blofeld's helicopter, which crashes onto Westminster Bridge. Blofeld survives and manages to crawl away from the wreckage, only for Bond to confront him at gunpoint. Blofeld dares Bond to kill him, but Bond refuses and instead leaves him to be arrested by M. He reunites with Swan and the two leave the bridge.